Hello, everyone. Today, I will be discussing the initiative and referendum process in Arizona and how these tools support direct democracy in the state. So, what are initiatives and referendums? First, it's important to define both terms. An initiative is a process that allows citizens to propose a new law or a constitutional amendment directly to voters without needing approval from the Arizona legislature first. Citizens gather signatures from registered voters, and if enough signatures are collected, the proposal is placed on the ballot for the public to vote on. A referendum is different. A referendum allows voters to approve or reject laws that have already been passed by the Arizona legislature. Citizens can challenge a law by collecting signatures and placing the issue on the ballot so voters can decide whether the law should go into effect. Both processes give citizens a direct role in government decision making. So, how are initiatives and referendums created? The process for both initiatives and referendums begins with citizens who want to take action on a public issue. For an initiative in Arizona, supporters first draft a proposed law or constitutional amendment. Then they apply with the Secretary of State's office and begin collecting signatures from registered voters. The number of signatures required depend on the type of initiative. For a statutory initiative, signatures must equal at least 10% of the voters cast in the last election. For a constitutional amendment initiative, signatures must equal at least 15% of those votes. Once enough valid signatures are verified, the initiative is placed on a statewide ballot for voters to approve or reject during an election. The referendum process is similar but applies to laws already passed by the legislature. Citizens who oppose a law must file paperwork and collect signatures that equal to at least 5% of the votes cast in the previous election. If enough signatures are gathered within the required time period, the law is temporarily suspended until voters decide the issue at the next election. Comparing and contrasting initiatives and referendums. Initiatives and referendums are similar because both allow citizens to participate directly in government and both require signature collections and statewide voting. However, there are important differences. An initiative is used to create laws or constitutional amendments. It states with the people proposing change. A referendum, on the other hand, is used to challenge laws already passed by elected lawmakers. Instead of creating something new, voters decide whether an existing law should remain in effect. Another difference is timing. Initiatives can be proposed at almost any time, while referendums usually occur shortly after the legislature passed a law because there's a deadline for gathering signatures. So initiatives are proactive tools for creating policy, while referendums are reactive tools used to approve or reject legislative decisions. And we have some pros and cons of initiatives. There are several advantages to the initiative process. One major benefit is it gives citizens a direct voice in government. If people believe lawmakers are ignoring important issues, initiatives allow voters to bypass the legislature and propose solutions themselves. Initiatives can also encourage civic participation because citizens become more involved in political discussions and elections. However, there are some disadvantages. Some initiatives are extremely complex and voters may not fully understand the long-term effects of the proposals. Wealthy interest groups can also spend large amounts of money promoting initiatives which may influence public opinion through advertising. Another criticism is that initiatives can create laws that are difficult to change later, especially constitutional amendments. We have our pros and cons of referendums. Referendums also have strengths and weaknesses. One advantage is accountability. Referendums allow voters to check the power of the legislator and prevent unpopular laws from taking effect. This gives citizens an additional layer of control over government actions. Referendums can also encourage lawmakers to pay closer attention to public opinion because legislators know their decision could be challenged by voters. On the downside, referendums may delay important legislation because challenged laws are suspended until the elections occur. Similar to initiatives, campaigns surrounding referendums can be heavily influenced by money, advertising, and political interest groups. Additionally, voters may make decisions based on short-term elections rather than careful policy analysis. Direct democracy in the Arizona Constitution. Arizona's Constitution strongly supports the idea of direct democracy. When Arizona became a state in 1912, the framers of the Constitution wanted citizens to have significant power over government decisions. As a result, Arizona included initiative and referendum rights directly in the state's constitution. This process reflects the belief that political power ultimately belongs to the people. Instead of relying on an elected representative, citizens have the ability to make laws themselves and review decisions made by the legislator. This system increases public participation and helps ensure that government remains accountable to voters. Arizona is considered one of the strongest examples of direct democracy in the United States because citizens regularly use initiatives and referendums to shape state policy on such issues as education, taxes, healthcare, and elections. Initiatives and referendums are an essential part of Arizona's political system. An initiative allows citizens to propose new laws or constitutional amendments, while a referendum allows voters to approve or reject laws passed by the legislator. Both processes require citizens to gather signatures and place issues on the ballot, giving voters a direct role in shaping public policy. Although there are advantages and disadvantages to each system, they both reflect the principle of direct democracy that is deeply rooted in Arizona's Constitution. Thank you for your listening time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.